in fact, it wasn't kind of scary. It was more like, okay, yeah, here, use me.
Hey, thank you for taking the time today. It's great to meet you.
Owen. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I got the chance to see the film the other day. It's beautiful. It's very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. So I've heard that most of the creative team did not know who Joseph Filon was before they started the project. I was curious, were you in the same boat? Did you kind of learn about him as this came up?
It was so strange because I was actually doing a TV show at the same time, and we were shooting before the script came. We were shooting in a BBC building or something like that, and they had this office dedicated to musicians of that time. And Lenny Henry had actually scribed a book that was just on Joseph. And we were in this room, and I was in this room about to do my take, and I saw this book, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I opened it, and then like 3 days later, the script came through. It's really weird. It's really weird. So I knew about him 3 days before the script came into my inbox. Can you imagine? And I was reading this stuff and going, is this real? When did this happen? And then the script came, and I was like, wow, I need to play that part. Luckily, they cast me.
Wow, that's incredible. And your character, this real person, and clearly was must have been incredibly strong to survive as she did before she got to Paris. Like, what to you were the key traits of hers that you wanted to make sure came across in your performance?
I really wanted her strength to also be based in her vulnerability and her softness, and her desire to see her son again is actually what has kept her alive. I feel like sometimes when things have been ripped from us and ripped from our bodies, it can leave a hole that is unfillable. So I made up a secret that isn't actually, it's not in the script or anything, but for me, in terms of the character of Nanon, for her to see her son, I feel like she made a choice at that time to get rid of his father so that she could, because there were so many opportunities that she's definitely tried. And I feel like what's important that for Nanon to share in what people might receive is that for her son and ultimately for herself, she would stop at nothing.
Mm. And most of, I think, what we know about her is kind of through the context of her son, just like in reading about him, you learned about her. Did that make it harder for you to find a way in and get a sense of who she was as a person?
Yay and nay, I'd say. There were a lot of women in the 1800s that were doing things that were often attributed to what were masculine. Yaya Santua, who led the British resistance for the Golden Stool in Ghana in 1840, don't quote me, 1843 maybe, but it was around these times that all these women were doing these incredibly powerful things. Queen Nanny, who led the Maroons in Jamaica, it was like, we don't often elevate or celebrate or know about these women that turn around and say, actually, I'm not having this. I'm not going to have an invasion of my body, of my place, of my people. I'm not going to allow the idea that I am not autonomous. So I went deep into that research and tried to find those women. I had pictures of those women up in my apartment, and when I was creating my character, and understanding that there is a desire to quit because it might be easier, but then there's something else that's born in these women that go, no, we are not quitters. We don't quit. And there's a scene where my character says, you always have a choice and you choose to fight. And she's like, no, I'm going to fight. And I think that's what she really wants to instill in Joseph, that he's like, it's not over. It can never be over.
That's so interesting. Did you feel like, because you were trying to speak to all of these other women and everything and their experiences, was that added pressure for you in this role in some way?
No, I think it more so inspired me, and also not in the sense that I was trying to speak for them, because I don't think I can. I allowed them to speak for me in the sense that it's 2023 and I get the opportunity to bring Nanon to life because she's still fighting. Like, she's still, she couldn't die. And all of the women that I researched and that I now know about and allowed them to influence who I am, they've not died. It's like, wow, there is real resistance, and that power is so empowering. So in fact, it wasn't kind of scary. It was more like, okay, yeah, here, use me. I'm here to be of service. Use me. And so it could also sound a bit scary.
No, that's great. And then there's this scene early on that like really got me for some reason, but it's where the Chevalier says to his mom, like, you start speaking, and he's just like, French is the preferred language. And it feels like that one moment speaks to their relationship so much. So like, how would you define the relationship between Nanon and her son once she was in Paris?
It's interesting because I feel like she doesn't disregard his experience, in the sense that he didn't have to go through the enslavement that she had and how the pain that molded her into who she was. But I know she's aware that there is stuff going on here for you as well. And also there's been so much time that they've been separated. It is presumptuous to come in and just assume that you could be back in a relationship instantly because I am your mother, you're my child. So in those moments, I feel like, yes, it's painful for Nanon, but she's actually very aware that this is what must happen in order for them to explore the real comfort and love and relationship, the pure relationship they have to have. It's also interesting about your language being removed from your tongue. I am British born, well, London born. It's a city, it's a world in and of itself. But my parents are Nigerian Yoruba and they're Lagos born. And I understand the mother tongue entirely, but I can't. I can flex some words, but I can't let it flow. And there's been this resistance where you go, where are you actually from? The idea, am I Nigerian? Am I British? Is Joseph French or is he Guadeloupean? Is Nanon Guadeloupean or is she Senegalese? Like all of these ideas that we are from everywhere and nowhere. And also understanding displacement can create a real fracture in who we are as people. And I feel like Nanon is very aware of this for her son. So she gives him grace. She don't, tell him to shut up, bruv, from talking. But it's all of that, all of those stuff that you have to think about. And that's why it's so painful in that moment that that's the choice he decides to make, in the sense that we don't talk like that around here. And she's like, okay, yeah, we'll get rid of.
Yeah. And you, at least from my research on the two of you, I don't think you and Kelvin are terribly far apart in age. So like, how is that? How is playing his mom?
He's such an incredible actor that it's so easy to find ways to have unspoken connections, in the sense that a mother and son would have. But definitely when we did the read through, which was on Zoom a few years ago, and we all popped up, everyone was like, and I'm just going, oh, how are we going to do this? And I even remember I created this really extensive character book that I brought in to my meeting with Stephen because I wanted him to know how much work I had done. My ego was like, you have to show this man. He cannot fire you, please. And I was talking through all of this and Stephen was like, you've got this. It's fine. I know you've got this. It's fine. And I was like, you don't want to see my pictures? So you don't want to see all of the weight work I've been doing? Stephen was like, no. And I was like, okay. So it was weird when we just got onto set, it just relaxed. And that's one thing I have to praise Stephen Williams for massively, was that he trusted us. He trusted me as a storyteller, and it just allowed me to relax and allow Nanon to be alive, as opposed to Ronke's trying to prove a point. I'm an actor, I can act well.
Yeah, I mean, which of course you also can, but exactly. I got to see them speak the other day, and they said one of their favorite days on set was when Nanon and the Chevalier walk through the city and there's like a little jam session happening. But I'm curious, which day on set sticks with you the most? And is it that one or is it another?
The one that sticks with me the most, I mean, that one was fun. And by that point, we had all known each other very well. So it was so much, it was just, we were free. But my 30th birthday was my first day of shooting. And I'm on set, and the first scene was when we're reunited. And me and Kelvin had spoken, but we'd never actually met before. And we did this really emotional scene, and Stephen came over and said it was great. And then I turned around and everyone sang happy birthday to me. And I was like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know any of you. So I'm just there like, Thanks, guys. There's that meme of Viola Davis when she's like, it's like, that's what you do when people sing happy birthday to you. Just smile. It was, so I remember that a lot, but also it set up the beginning of such a beautiful, beautiful shooting period that I cherish. I would go back in a heartbeat. It was such a wonderful, wonderful time. Ugh, everyone's so amazing. I love them.
That's awesome. That's everything I have for you, but congrats on the movie. It's really so beautiful and you're wonderful in it, obviously.
My love.
Great. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.